Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Now, Doctors Without Borders say the U.S. strike on a hospital in Kunduz that was meant to hit Taliban targets was a war crime. Now, some experts, however, dispute that characterization. The top U.S. general in Afghanistan, Campbell, has ordered an investigation into the incident and says preliminary results should be available in the next couple of days. Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb has their latest.
Destruction in the unlikeliest of places. A hospital, a place those injured in war had sought out as a refuge. The group Doctors Without Borders says the strike killed 22, including hospital staff and children. The top U.S. general in Afghanistan told reporters the Afghan military called for the airstrike against Taliban fighters in the area.
The Afghan forces called in for fire to support them because they were under direct fire.
General Campbell said U.S. forces are in Kunduz advising Afghan forces, but earlier reports that U.S. forces there were taking fire from the Taliban were inaccurate. Doctors Without Borders has issued a statement saying, "The reality is the U.S. dropped those bombs. The U.S. military remains responsible for the targets it hits, and there can be no justification for this horrible attack."
If errors were committed, we will acknowledge them. We'll hold those responsible accountable, and we will take steps to ensure mistakes are not repeated.
In the fog of war, analysts say tragedies like this one cannot be prevented, no matter how cautious the U.S. may be.
When you have seconds or minutes in which to react, when you're getting confusing messages from very different echelons of command, when you can't wait for some ideal rules of engagement to be met, you're going to have these incidents.
In a statement sent to VOA, the Taliban denied the presence of its fighters in the hospital at the time of the strike. The U.S. has criticized the Taliban for staying and fighting from within the city, which General Campbell says is, quote, knowingly putting civilians at significant risk.
Now, VOA's Carla Babb joins us live via Skype from the Pentagon. Hello, Carla.
Hi, Vincent. And I was just watching General Campbell as he was speaking to the Senate Armed Services Committee, and he stressed to the Senate that the United States would never and did not intentionally and deliberately strike a protected medical facility.
Now, in your package, actually, I picked out one line. The general says if a mistake was made, if somebody did something wrong, they will be held responsible. What does that mean? Is that comforting to people like the MSF?
Well, MSF is calling this a war crime. And if an entity does deliberately target a hospital during war, that is considered a war crime. However, the United States and people in the halls of the Pentagon that I've been speaking with today say that that is not the case, that that was not a deliberate target. But now that leaves a lot of questions. You look at if it wasn't deliberately targeted, then how could the United States not have known that it was a hospital? The Doctors Without Borders camp says that they told the Afghans, they told the NATO forces, and they told the Taliban where they were, so they don't know how this could occur. Then you look at, did the United States and did the Afghans know that there were still people using this facility? Because a lot of the area around Kunduz was evacuated when the Taliban came in. So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered by this investigation.
Indeed, many questions with all those kind of confusing messages there. But what is the current situation in Kunduz right now?
Well, the current situation is that the Afghan forces have retaken the majority of the city. There are pockets of Taliban insurgents still within the city, but basically what happened is the Taliban took the Afghan forces by surprise, and there were some Afghan units that were outside the city that were not able to get in there in time. But General Campbell said today in the Senate Armed Services Committee that once they were able to regroup, they were able to push the Taliban out.
Now, we know that the U.S. military in Afghanistan were supposed to leave, the soldiers were supposed to leave by the end of 2016. Does the general think this will still happen?
Well, he actually said quite the opposite. He said that he had recommended to his superiors that there would be options for force protection after 2016. He says that there has been a lot that has changed in Afghanistan since the last getting out by 2016 decision was made. He said that there's been the situation with the Islamic State, and there have been a lot of different developments that would prevent the United States forces from leaving. They said that the unity government wants the United States to stay, and if the United States and the coalition were to go, then all of the counterterrorism, a lot of the different training exercises that they need and that the Afghans have wanted would be severely diminished. One of the biggest points, and we're saying this during an airstrike, the United States says that the Afghans need a lot more support in their air support. They started way too late, General Campbell said. The United States and NATO started way too late building up those forces, and that they shouldn't leave early. They need to make sure that they're protected and that they're available and able and capable to do this before the United States leaves.
Well, Carla, thank you very much for your reporting.
Thank you.
VOA's Carla Babb reporting live from the Pentagon.